Ladies and gentlemen, we ready to start this party? I'm ready to start this party. Make sure my audio levels are good. It's like we're maxing out. All right, we good? We good. That's better. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of all ages, I am, have been, and will continue to be the old humble guy. We are once again in my distillery, in the actual operating floor of my distillery, where we will be, well, bottling up some whiskey. There's Paul. Paul Duncat in the house. Cheers, Paul. I've got some snacky snacks because it's kind of lunchtime. But over here on my left, what is that? That's my bottling machine. You can actually see it right there. That's my bottling machine. 4 bottles every 27.4 seconds. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Is your bar looking a little ordinary? Is it lacking something awesome? Well, head out to your local. Have something extraordinary. Serve easy drinking way whiskey, humble beginning, finish. What your bar tall, be humble, old humble special reserve. Get yours today.
All right. I am experiencing a plethora of technical difficulties. Here's where I will be operating today. As you can see, my snacky snacks, which I will put over here. Excuse me. I have water because it's about 1,000,000 degrees outside. Because it's August and it's Texas. And my wife is in my ear right now, metaphorically. Don't forget to stay hydrated. It's really hot out there. You need to stay hydrated. And I already had a cramp over here at one point earlier today. A muscle cramp from bending over. But that's how it goes. I am trying to stay hydrated. That is the plan. Actually stay hydrated today. I do have, it's right here. A little rag to stay somewhat dry. It's time to get cracking. So what are we going to do today? First things first, I'm going to make about 5. I'm going to make as many cases as I can of what we've got. So I'm just going to start, y'all see here? I'm going to start here with this barrel, move on to this barrel. This is bourbon. This is straight special reserve. This is rye. And over there on the other side, I've got straight whiskey. Just got it in, just filtered it. Oh, no, that's not true. I've had it in. It's just finished filtering. We just got in our bottles. These are my pallet of bottles. This is what I've been waiting on since early July. So this is what the holdup has been. I haven't had bottles, so I haven't been able to make any fresh bottles because we haven't had any fresh bottles. And this is literally the thing that shut down the entire operation for the month of July. All I was able to do is go out and do tastings, which I'm fine with, but I truly would rather be in the shop. This is the worst damn blade I've ever used. I don't like this knife at all. Jesus. My good knife's at home, as I forgot it. But this guy, god dang. I mean, I could cut with the operating side of this knife over here, or the back side of this knife, and it wouldn't make any damn difference. What the heck? All right, so we're gonna bring this thing down like a banana, I think. I'm not gonna cut the whole thing off. All right, so what do we do on a daily basis here at the Old Humble Distilling Company? The primary operation of this here distillery is making and selling whiskey. But I learned probably back in 2015 or 16 that the real operation that a distillery needs to, the real job of any business is not necessarily making a product, but selling a product. That is why so many companies outsource their production to China, India, wherever. They're not really in the business of making t-shirts. Nike's not in the business of making shoes. Arguably, Chick-fil-A is not in the business of making chicken sandwiches. I have and continue to make whiskey. But what comes into my shop and what leaves my shop are not the same thing. So I don't mind. We do have our stills. You can see them in the background, I think. And I do use those to make whiskey. But the majority of our product at this point is outsourced to a local distillery across town. We've contracted with Gulf Coast Distilling to make whiskey with us. And that has been a nice little partnership for the last year, almost year. That's allowed me to focus a lot of my attention on the stuff that we need to do here at the shop. While I build out the property, build out the tasting room, develop flavors and brands and all that other stuff. It goes slower than you expect it to, and that's frustrating because you want this stuff to go quick. You want to be able to, hit the ground running, and sometimes drop bottles and shatter them on the floor, because that's what we do. We drop bottles and shatter them on the floor. That was just 3 bottles. That's okay. I'll go sweep that up later. Just 3 bottles. Because I am an absolute dumbass. That is the first time that has ever happened. True story. First time that's ever happened. I've never, ever, ever before dropped a bottle off the pallet. Because in the past, my bottle guys have had walls, little trays around their packaging setups. But for some reason, they've moved away from the little trays around their packaging setups, making it possible for crap like that to happen. I'm actually kind of pissed off about that. But I'm not going to get upset. Just a little pissed off. Y'all heard it, but y'all didn't see it. I assume y'all heard it. But you can see there's no like tray. There's no barrier over here preventing bottles from falling off. So I'm just going to unpack some bottles here. First task is going to be package up. We'll go with 5 cases. I think we're going to package up 5 cases at a time to get this party started. And I am going to very likely have to put in an order for some more corks. I think. Yeah. I have to put in another order for corks. And that's good. Ordering corks is good. But right now, we got plenty to work with until next month. So for now, the corks we have are the corks we use. All right, move my ashtray back over to the outside. Electrical guys just drove by. All right. So the current task at hand, I'm going to move these barrels real quick. No, I don't need to move the barrels. The barrels are ready to go. Whew. All right. The fill system is ready. The barrels are ready. Paul Dunecat's in the house. And I'm ready to start filling up some bottles of whiskey. 27.05 seconds per 4 bottles. And we'll see what we get. 99% certain this is my Boomtown bourbon. I label the barrels, but the labels fall off. But a good maker knows his product by taste and by look and by color. That is a nice caramel color. Oh yeah, that's my Boomtown bourbon. Next to it is our special reserve in this barrel right here. And the special reserve is going to have a lighter color to it. A simpler flavor to it. There's a slightly lighter color. It's going to have a simpler flavor. Yeah, because it doesn't have any rye. And because it's missing the rye, it's actually oakier. It tastes oakier than the bourbon tastes because the rye is usually present to balance out that oaky flavor. And without that rye, the oak really stands on its own. Whereas with the bourbon, there is rye, so the oak doesn't express itself quite as loudly as it does with the special reserve. First tap of the day. Yep, there you go, man. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see here. 5, 6, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We 2 off of the 6 there. So I'm going to start with 5 cases of bourbon. Move on to the special reserve, straight whiskey and rye will be last. But the goal today, I'm going to take a break around 2-ish, so I can go home, eat some lunch, and clean up. Because my kid needs to go into town for a anime convention. So it's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this will be case number 5. All right. So I like to stage up the bottles. God dang it! I need to clean my shop up. I like to stage up the bottles so that I kind of have an idea of where in the process I am presently at, where my progress is. So that's 6, 7, 8. That's 8. That also I know when to stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 1 case, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's all I'll need. But I'm also working on 2 prongs of my continuing growth plan for the distillery. I'm trying to fill in my retail footprint. where I'm at, mostly at Spec stores, so that it'll be easier to sell the whiskey, easier to go through the process of, bringing it to stores and doing demos at stores. Uh, I can more easily plan my schedule, make trips to Dallas and San Antonio and places like that to do tastings. Because, if I've only got one flavor in San Antonio, for example, it makes it really hard to schedule a trip to San Antonio because I've got to do, especially if it's like one flavor in one store. But let's say I've got one flavor in 2 different stores in San Antonio. I've got to sell I got to visit the stores on different days because there's not enough time in a day to do one store and sell enough at one store. So I got to call the store and say, look, order 2 or 3 cases. You order 3 cases, you may have some left over, and that's cool because then your shelves won't be bare. If you order 2 cases, for sure I'll sell them, but I hate to sell it out and leave y'all with nothing. So order 3 cases, so then we get 6 cases sold. And if it's the cheaper of the 2 of the 4 labels that we have, the cheapest, our straight whiskey, that goes to our distributor at $168, and my net on one of those cases is something like $45 or something like that. It's like a third of the price that I sell it to the distributor at. So I've got to figure out where I can get a hotel room for. I got gas. I got to get a hotel room for whatever 45 times 3 is, $130. If I'm going to spend the night in San Antonio, which isn't impossible. They've got KOAs, which are only like, $60 or something like that. And I like staying at KOAs, to be quite honest. But it just makes it really hard if all of the profit for your sales gets eaten up with the actual marketing and sales. And demos are a great way to sell product while you're there, but it's really a challenge. 45 may actually be too much. It's really a challenge to continue the sale, to sell when you're not there. It's just it becomes a challenging prospect in general. So it's easier if there's like 2 different labels, because then I can tell them, look, order 2 cases of both of these. Then we get 4 cases sold when I go and do a demo. They order 4 cases. I'll sell, most of both of them. They'll be left with 4 or 5 bottles on the shelf, something like that. That makes them happy because they're left with only 4 or 5 bottles. It makes me happy because I've sold 4 cases instead of 3, 8 cases instead of 6, and the last 2 cases pay for my hotel room, which is cool. And if I can really push it and do a full 9-hour day instead of, you can do 3-hour chunks, 3 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours. You can do a full 9-hour day and sell 10 cases, which would be that's tough. Selling whiskey at noon is hard. There's not a lot of people buying whiskey at noon. Certainly not a lot of people buying craft whiskey at noon. But you'd be surprised. You can get folks doing it. They sell 10 cases, then we can sell 20 cases in 2 days. But then the challenge becomes actually having product, supplying the product. Supply versus demand. I can create demand, but I got to match the supply to that demand, and that becomes a problem. These are all the things that go on behind the scenes at the distillery. This is all the stuff that I have to think about, all the stuff that I have to work on, all the stuff that matters. When you're building a company and working on a company, the biggest challenge a lot of time is supplying the product. You can go out and create demand all day long, but then you've got to figure out how to supply the product. And matching your supply to your demand is a never-ending challenge, because that supply, the demand comes today. the supply may not be ready for 6 or 8 weeks or a month even, or 2 or 3 months sometimes. And when your supply, when you have production delays and supply problems, you know, that also makes up with the problem of paying rent, among other things. I mean, I just had a meeting which hopefully will increase demand and create for me a demand problem, well, a supply problem, because hopefully the demand will be there with an extra 25 stores. What I just did is I filled this up with alcohol. The bad kind of alcohol, methyl alcohol, to sanitize my service stuff. This was covered in dust and stuff. And that's what we do with our methyl alcohol, often known as the heads of the production process. Because we do produce whiskey here as well. We make and produce whiskey. Every bit of our bourbon goes through our stills. Every bit of the bourbon goes through the stills once before it comes to us as low proof, and then we run it through the stills to turn it into high proof bourbon, or bottle proof bourbon, or finished proof bourbon. That's what I'm trying to say. We run it through for finished proof bourbon. It comes to us at like what's called low wines, and then we run it through and finish it to turn it into high wine. So it comes to us around 60 proof, and then we finish it to 160 proof. So we can say it's distilled legally, say it's distilled by us, because we do. We distill it, yeah. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're good. See how easy it is? When I stage the bottles, it becomes really easy for me to see my progress and make sure I know where I'm at, and double check my count and make sure I haven't, forgotten something or added something inadvertently, because sometimes we do dumb things like that. I'll inadvertently add bottles or take away bottles, break bottles, have to walk over broken glass. I can't believe I dropped 3 brand new god dang bottles over here. I mean, you wait a month to get bottles, then you immediately break 3 of them. Like, how much of a muppet do you have to be, Mr. Old Humble Guy? All right, so what's going on in the world, guys? We're watching the Olympics. So there used to be an Olympic sport, an Olympic poetry competition. There was Olympic architecture. They had all kinds of weird Olympic, quote-unquote, sports. But the original Olympics, way back in the old Greek days, the original Olympics were basically military activities. Pole vault, high jump, long jump, boxing, wrestling. Yeah, these were all Olympic sports. They were all military skills. They were the best soldiers, the best athletes were the best athletes of Greece were the best soldiers of Greece. And the Grecian games were basically all the different city-states of Greece getting together and doing their thing, seeing who had the best warriors, the best trained fighters. It was a bragging rights thing. And a lot of our early modern Olympians were also soldiers. Olympic athletes were college athletes, civilian soldiers, among others. Wasn't all soldiers, but certainly in the shooting events, you'd have old World War II vets, World War I vets. Going all the way back into the 1800s, you'd have, well, actually, I don't think they had Summer Olympics in the 1800s. The Modern Olympics started in 1900, if I recall. Yeah. So you'd have, I was going to say like Civil War vets. There weren't Civil War vets in the Olympics because by the time the Olympics rolled around, the Civil War vets were 70 years old. All right, I'm going to have to sip this barrel for a second. I'm going to go ahead and finish this barrel off because we need to have, I want to free up that barrel, and there's just not much left in there. And we have plenty of bottles now. In June when I was doing this, we were running short on bottles, so I didn't want to make more on Spec. But at this point, these first 5 are basically going to be set aside for my distributor. Everything after that is going to go, oh, there we go. I may not have extra bottles. I may not have many extra bottles, let's put it that way. I might have a few. True story, I go to a bar, as I sometimes do. I sit down, I order a couple of beers, as I tend to do. Because I don't like to bother the bartender a lot, because the bartender's busy. So usually I'll order 2 Lone Stars and a koozie to keep the second one like cold while I drink the first one. And also it's a kind of an open invitation to anybody who wants to join me for a drink. I'll have 2 drinks. So if you want to join me for a drink, there's the second one. And it has happened before where I sit down with my 2 beers and somebody comes up and says, hey, anybody drinking that? Like, no, you want a drink? And, we strike up a conversation. It's kind of fun. I like talking to strangers. Happy hour conversations are some of my favorites because you learn about people, you learn about, what they do, their points of view, and things like that. But here's something that's been bugging me for the last, 8 years or so, maybe a little bit longer. Happy hour conversations have been, that's it. We have 4 extra bottles. Happy hour conversations have gotten weird. Talking to strangers has become a very risky thing to do. And let me explain. You sit down at a bar, and the rise of conspiracy theories and just weird, nonsensical shit. Like in the 90s, the biggest risk you had was somebody plopping down next to you, and you start. Shit, I don't know. I didn't really go to bars much in the 90s because I was kind of young. Let's see here. That's it. Not getting anything else out of this one. But it wouldn't be a whole lot of weird, nonsensical conspiracy theory bullshit, but you'd get it every once in a while. And it was good-hearted and kind of fun, good-spirited fun. Kennedy assassination type of stuff, alien visitors, lizard people, like stuff that nobody really believes. At least they didn't really believe it in the 90s. Then Alex Jones comes around and he starts doing his bullshit nonsense. And then 9/11 happens. And now all of a sudden, conspiracy theories and conversations with strangers become dangerous because you run into this. Is it optical? Okay, so this measures it out by time. That's a good question, Paul. He want to know, is this optical limit or is it optical, or does it measure the volume dispensed? It's not measuring the volume dispensed. I had to calibrate it. And 750 milliliters is right about there at the bottom of the neck. There's a tolerance. The TTB has a tolerance of a few milliliters, so it can go a little bit higher there on the neck. Sometimes a little bit lower. Sometimes a little bit lower looks bad. A little bit higher is okay. But if it goes too high, then it's just, they don't really care if you put too much in there. They really get pissy if you put too little, because you're shortchanging the customer. They don't mind tax-wise because you're paying more in taxes if you put too little in. If I report 750 milliliters and put in 740, they don't care because they're getting an extra like 6 bottles out of it or whatever. But if I do that, I'm shortchanging the customers, and they don't like that. The customers don't like that, obviously. So the goal is to be within a couple of milliliters either way, a couple of milliliters high, a couple of milliliters low, and be consistently, especially visually consistent. Visually consistent is extremely important because I don't want this stuff to look like it's underfilled, even if it's, because if it's on the shelf next to bottles that are properly filled and it looks underfilled, then it's underfilled. You know what I mean? So this half bottle is going to be the first bottle. Actually, I don't even know if I'm going to label this bottle because I may have a half bottle at the bar that I can merge it with. Let me check my bar real quick because those last 4 bottles are also going to be transferred to the bar. But yeah, ever since then, with oh, perfect. This fucking cork. These corks. I'm gonna have to double check every single one of these fucking corks because the heat is melting the glue. And they get out into the stores, and the glue is melted, and the corks don't stick to the wood. I need to have a word with my cork supplier about that because that's bad. That's bad. Okay. 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 That's why we have wood glue. All right. There you go. I was able to merge it at the bar. So we've got 4 bottles left over that will be transferred to the bar immediately. A little repair on a cork right there. All right. But yeah, okay. What I was saying, ever since, the 9/11 attacks and the fucking rise of cuckoo bird conspiracy theory nonsense, having conversations with strangers has become a very dire and very dangerous situation because you could sit down with somebody who looks perfectly normal, and then like the 5th word out of their mouth is like, "Oh yeah, the Earth is only 4,000 years old, and people tamed and rode dinosaurs." And what are you going to do from there? Especially if you're sitting at the bar and that's your seat. Well, the answer, obviously, to the question is you take your drink and you get up and leave. So the whole point of this, I'm sitting at the bar the other day, enjoying myself, having a drink, ordered a couple of Lone Stars, as I do. I'm sitting there enjoying myself, having a little drink. And this dude sits down right next to me. Unironically, not even a hello. Not even a hello. We don't even get into like the topical niceties or anything like that. He sits down, hails the bartender, drink pourer, orders a beer, looks at me and goes, "Have you been watching the Olympics?" I'm like, "Yep." He goes, "Ain't it a damn shame? I beat up my wife and I go to jail, but you beat up some chick in the Olympics and you get a medal." And I look at this dude and I look at my beer. I look at it. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. I take my beers and I walk out of the patio. Not even. I mean, why? Why can't people just be normal? It's so exhausting. The weirdness, the dumbness, and and I'm willing to allow that this guy was trying a bit. He thought he was being funny. He was going for the bit, going for the outrage, going for the silly. But god damn, there's a reason why we have professional comedians. And it's because of guys like him that just aren't funny. Like, Jesus, God, dude. There's a way to deliver that joke where it is funny, and he has not workshopped it at enough open mics for it to be that. He was unfunny. An exhausting, red-pilled incel that you just makes it hard to talk to weird people. Why do people have to be so weird? I mean, weird people are fine. I'm down with weirdos. I like weirdos. Bring me a clown who stomps on Legos or whatever. Look how beautiful the day it is out there. It's gorgeous. Bring me a clown that stomps on Legos and eats glass bottles, glass light bulbs all day long. We'll talk about weird stuff, your tarantula collection, whatever. I'll even entertain the idea that there's some venomous animals, venomous creatures, where the venom will cure cancer, but in order to prevent that, pharmaceutical companies are paying farmers to burn down trees where these creatures live so that they can, build farms. Sure, okay. That's a particular kind of crazy, but that's an old-fashioned kind of crazy. A good old-fashioned kind of weird conspiracy theory. Because, pharmaceutical companies want to treat cancer. They don't want to treat it for free, and they certainly don't want to cure it. I mean, that's good old-fashioned conspiracy theory, and it has a thing that's happening connected to a plausible explanation that is alternative to the common story that we're normally told. Okay, I can be down with all that. There's a plausible why. You know what I mean? A plausible why. But billionaires lobbied the federal government to put metal strips in our money so that they can track the flow of free cash through airports. Huh? Why the fuck would billionaires give a crap about the $85 in your wallet as you go through an airport? $85. Who am I kidding? $17 that you have in your wallet as you go through an airport. Billionaires don't give a shit about you. They don't think about you. They don't spend any energy whatsoever thinking about you. In fact, a lot of times they need to be reminded that other people even exist. There's only like 9 of them. You know, you go out to lunch with some millionaire, billionaire, whatever, and they order all the stuff, and then you're like, I'm just gonna have I didn't realize everything on the menu costs $50. I'm just gonna have water. And they're like, oh yeah, you're a normal person. I forgot. Normal people exist. Thought everybody had trillions of dollars in their couch cushions. Like, nope. Steve, not everybody does have trillions of dollars. Not everybody can just pay a hobo for his liver or his pancreas or whatever the hell you bought when you had that cancer surgery in Nashville. That's another fun conspiracy theory. Steve Jobs paid a homeless guy for his pancreas. Anyway, good old-fashioned conspiracy. I miss good old-fashioned conspiracy theories. And I hate the algorithm for ruining good old-fashioned conspiracy theory fun of being able to look up stuff like, where are Bigfoot sightings mostly found? And, just being idly curious about where Bigfoot gets mostly seen in America versus, sightings of black bear territory, or grizzly bear territory. Is there a significant overlap between Bigfoot sightings and bear sightings? Oddly enough, the answer to that question is yes. But in order to research that and look that stuff up, you need to have your browser in incognito mode, like some kind of filthy pervert looking at anime porn. Because if you look up fucking reason whatsoever, the algorithm thinks you also want to know about Sandy Hook inside job crisis actors, and it also thinks you might want to know about JFK mob links, and they also might want to know about how hormones are turning frogs gay, or whatever other nonsensical bullshit the algorithm thinks that these stupid conspiracy theorists want to know about. Quite frankly, I don't want to know about alien civilizations that existed on Earth 10,000 years ago before the early Dryas bombardment, because that's nonsense. It's absolute fucking nonsense. I don't need to know 9 facts that'll convince you the world is flat, because the world's not flat. This is when you pick up your drink and you walk off and go to the other table. I don't want to know. I don't want to talk about this crap. You can't. It's not a good faith discussion, and it's not a debatable topic. I mean, that'd be like debating whether or not I'm a kangaroo. I'm not a kangaroo. I'm an old man. I'm a cranky old man. Get off my lawn, you damn kids, and pull your pants up. Actually, I'm not that old, but but yeah, old-fashioned conspiracy theories. I miss those. I miss the time when we could just idly look up, who the conspirators were in the Archduke Franz Ferdinand's death. That's actually a fun topic to discuss and talk about. There was a whole conspiracy involved there, guys, and really the Archduke got shot because he was unlucky. His driver brought him to the wrong place at the wrong time. Otherwise, he'd gotten away. And maybe we'd have avoided World War I entirely. I'm sure they'd have found some other reason to fight, but you know. Hey, Mr. Jakes, cheers. Welcome to the party. But, you know, God forbid you look any of that stuff up, because then the algorithm thinks you're a goddamn lunatic, just like all the other lunatics that look this crap up. No thank you, algorithm. I am not some red pill incel that thinks Wayfair is delivering children in filing cabinet boxes. I know better, because I have a brain in my head. Remember that? That was a thing. And there was a sex dungeon underneath a pizza place. That was a thing. And apparently they let these people have guns. Ugh, America. Jesus. Anyway. Yeah, I miss the days when we could be normal. When we could just sit down, have a drink, talk to a stranger. I know that doesn't sound normal, talking to strangers. But we used to talk to strangers. I mean, hell, I don't know most of you people. The vast majority. I mean, I know of you. We've talked here in these forums, in chat groups, chat, and live chat on live streams. We've interacted. But you don't know me. You saw me in person, you might be all like, who's that dude in the dress? Why is he wearing a pink dress and frilly stockings? Well, pink dress, frilly stockings, comfortable shoes, because I know better. A wig and a ball gag. Should I get a ball gag? No. Besides, pink's not my color. What color dress would I wear? Black? No. Blue? Maybe. Trying to picture myself in a. I'm not trying to picture myself in a dress anymore. I would not look good. I do not look good. I barely look good as a guy. I need to drop about 50 pounds now. Then I'll look better as a guy. Look at this. Ugh. I'm at the point now where I can't wear black to look for its slimming effects. I actually have to have a fat friend so that I don't look so fat. I need to get like a 300-pound guy to stand next to me. The guy who's 300 pounds and like 6 inches shorter than me to stand next to me at all times so that I look skinnier. You know, one of those guys who like arms have to stick out because they're too fat to touch their waist. I need to get one of those guys as a friend. Then I don't have to lose weight. I just look skinny next to the guy next to me. Maybe that's what I need to do. I need to gain 50 pounds so that I can be everyone's fat friend and make them look skinny. Then that'll be a service that I provide. I'll just go out, be all like, yeah, for $50 I'll stand next to you so you don't look fat. And then you can hit on chicks. That would be a valuable service, I think. 300-pound beard. Exactly. Something like that. Something like that. I haven't ever really given it a lot of thought, but I don't think I would look good as a woman. I have a beard, for one. I don't have any hair, for another. I'm hairy as fuck. My arms, my legs, my chest. I got hair all over my body. I mean, I have zero interest in shaving. If me and my wife dressed up as like sisters for Halloween or something like that, I would definitely be the ugly one. Because I mean it's all hairy. Ugh. Imagine me in like a bikini. Ugh. I don't want to. That's gross. Of course, you know, it's not like I wear a shirt when I go to the pool. Just board shorts and sandals. I mean, I wear a shirt when I get there, or take the shirt off when I get there. I don't go swimming with a shirt on. I'm not one of those fat kids from school. I'm a fat grown up. I take off my shirt and I pick up a glass of whiskey and I lay by the pool and I live my best life. But I mean, like, a dude in a dress? You ever remember the Money Pit? Remember the Money Pit when the band was in drag? Right? It was the band. They played in drag, right? Or part of the band was, at least. And there was that one dude with the big old beard and the froofy dress and the hat. That's what I would look like. Not attractive. Kind of a farce. Which I guess might be funny. Anyway, I'm not dressing up in drag anytime soon. Because I don't want to shave my legs. And I kind of, in my head, that's kind of what you have to do. If you're going to dress up in drag, you kind of have to shave your legs. Guys are gross. Why do girls even? The fact that we're able to procreate, that girls will lower their standards enough to let guys, like, you know, do stuff. We're just gross. But God bless them. God bless them for letting us do stuff. They like it enough, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, where were we? Olympics. Yeah, okay. Uh, we're at the end of the second week, I think, or in the middle of the second week. How long do the Olympics go? 16 days? Something like that? So they should be wrapping up on Sunday or Monday. I don't know when they wrap up, but it's got to be getting close because they only go 2 weeks, 16 days, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 18. Someone in chat let me know because I don't have time to look it up. My hands are full, and I'm going to do another 5 cases this evening. I may go live this evening and do another 5 cases. I may not, but I got another 15 cases total to do. I'm going to close out all these barrels, and then I'll do a big bottling push for the straight whiskey. Maybe I'll have a bottling party for the straight whiskey on Saturday. It'll be open to the public. Do a bottling party on Saturday, maybe. Because I know it's 110 degrees or something like that. The heat index is like 110 degrees, but it doesn't feel like 110 degrees. I'm in here. I have a nice breeze going. I have a fan over there and a fan over there. It's a little cloudy right now. It's not super duper bright outside. It's a beautiful day. Absolutely beautiful day. Kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum. Ugh. I found a new route to get to the distillery too. So we're in the back of a little neighborhood that never built out. The developer took the money, the down payment for the properties, which was supposed to go to utilities and establishing municipal services for the development. And instead of running electric, storm drainage, and plumbing from the local municipal utility district, he took the money and left for decided it would be too expensive to do all of that and just took the money and left for Dubai or Abu Dhabi, or I think Abu Dhabi's in Dubai, Kuwait, UAE, one of those countries out there. He just bolted, took off. So the people were stuck with the money, or they were stuck with their properties that had some kind of lien on them, and they couldn't sell them, and it was all in litigation for like 20 years. And then around 2012, this was in the late 80s, but then around 2012-ish, all the litigation was finally settled, their properties were freed up, and then they started selling the properties off. So we're in just this little back area. The roads had overgrown, and the main drag gets chewed up by heavy trucks that keep going up and down the road, because there's basically the things that what's on the main drag are truck storage lots, overnight truck storage, long-term truck storage, RV storage, tow behind storage. There's a dude has a couple of containers in one of these lots. And they're all just basically low-grade industrial, rustic commercial type of stuff. This is the only building in the area. Up and down the street is the only building that has utilities. Ah, fuck. I wonder if the heat gun is melting the glue. I'm not doing it too hot for too long. I think it's just the heat. Sitting in the heat of the facility and in the trucks and in the warehouse where it sits that's causing the problem with the glue. Anyway, ours is the only building with actual utilities, walls, businesses that are operating inside the property area. So most of these guys don't really care what happens to the road, because they don't have customers coming to see them. They're coming in their big old trucks with giant suspension and all that shit. This is the most I've talked in like 3 weeks, I think. Anyway, so that road's all chewed to shit. It's like a battle zone out there. Which makes it really hard for distillery customers to come up and down the road, but also really hard for me in my little car to drive up and down the road, because my little car is just a little baby car with not great suspension, nor does it have a very high clearance. So I'm like driving around potholes, driving around all kinds of stuff, just trying to survive out there. Anyway, it's 2 roads that way, the main drag, then 2 roads this way. And there's a crossroad in between them. There's a east-west road in between. So we've got 4 long north-south roads, 1 short east-west road, and 2 other short east-west roads that go before you get to the main drags on either side of the development here. And one of these north-south roads, every single one of them looks like a murder road. It looks like a road you would go down and get ambushed by zombies, or, you know, forest people, or whatever. You just come out playing their banjos and tell you what a pretty mouth you got. And honestly, there's a few people who live around back here that look like they might do that, but they're decent people, except for Devin, who stole my barrels because he's a degen. But nothing wrong with being a degen if you live off the grid. The only problem with being a degen is if you live on the grid. Shit. If you live on the grid and you're too close to schools and playgrounds. So anyway, one of these roads looks like a murder road. And it just so happens that that road is in great shape because nobody ever drives up and down that road because it looks like a murder road. It looks like the kind of road you would drive down specifically to get or commit murder. And it's in great shape. So, you know, I can take my little car down that road and not worry about blowing up its suspension any more than it's already been blown up. And so I'm all happy because I found a new route to get to the distillery that doesn't flood when it rains, that doesn't get all pockmarked and ruined when a truck drives up and down it, because trucks don't drive up and down it. And based on the number of times I've driven down that road, I really don't have to worry about hill people or forest people coming out and stealing my teeth. Just works out great for everybody. I am suddenly extremely hungry, but I want to get this done. What time is it? It's 12 o'clock. I can get this done before I have to leave. We can wrap up the stream. I'll get this done, boxed, packed, and ready to go, so I can go take care of my kid and his anime convention. The annual anime convention is at George R. Brown in downtown this year. Their first seminar that they're going to is at 4 o'clock. Doors open at 3. I want to get them there between 3 and 4, so I need to leave here. No, not really any later than 2. That doesn't matter to anybody. But that's when I'm going to wrap this up, right between 1 and 2. Because I've still got to eat something, clean up just a little, so that I don't stink. Ah, shoot. And I'm going to have to clean my car out a little bit because alright, no worries. Just more pain in the butt logistics. So right now I am putting the back labels on the bottles. The back label for our Boomtown bourbon. I go through, I put one label on the back, one label, and then I go through and put the labels on the front. I do not do them both at the same time because it feels like it takes longer. It probably does. I don't know for sure because I've never timed it, but it feels like it takes longer when I'm doing 2 different tasks at the same time. If I'm single tasking all the way through, this is something that my former boss hated when I worked at the bank, because I brought in a bunch of new accounts from the footprint, what we called the footprint from the local branches of the bank. We brought in a bunch of accounts that had to be conformed to our standard funeral trust regulatory filing process system, whatever. Basically, the files had to be brought into conformity and up to standard. And that was my job for 180 something accounts. And I built a spreadsheet to track each individual thing that we needed in the file. The know your customer information, which is basically owners, and if not owners, then board of directors, and if not board of directors, committee members, if it was an association. We needed the documentation to show that that entity existed. We needed EINs or social security numbers. for the individuals. We needed, that was the first part. And then we needed the trust document. We needed bank statements for the last annual bank statement. We needed the investment policy, and any additional correspondence. So usually the only correspondence that was in there was me sending the letter asking for the know your customer information. Documentation from the state regulatory authorities to confirm that the entities existed, et cetera, et cetera. Usually that was the only documentation because a lot of times you couldn't get a hold of these people. But anyway, or a lot of them were dead. Oh, there was one where the client had died, and it had been passed down to the family, but then the family closed the business or something to that effect. So, like, this was a trust without a trustor. We were a trustee of a trust without a trustor. And the widow didn't want to have anything to do with it. And, you can't just close it and send the money. You have to send it to the benefactor. So it was literally just a zombie account that we couldn't do anything with. We couldn't resign from it. We couldn't pass it on to anybody else. We couldn't do anything. We just were stuck with this stupid account. Anyway, where was I? But yeah, I created a spreadsheet, had all the list of things that we needed and all the accounts that we needed to do it. And I would go through every single account and do the one thing. Get the know your customer information, or get the trust agreement, or get the, whatever. And this was not how they wanted me to do it. They wanted me to go with one account at a time, get it all up to code, get it all up to snuff, and then move on to the next account. One account at a time. And I could not keep changing gears and changing focus on every single. So I kind of did both just to make them happy. I would get all the big things done at once. Make sure we had all the trust agreements, make sure we had all the investment policies, make sure we had all the account statements for the last year. Big things like that. Print out all the letters that I sent off, or copy all the letters that I sent off to these people asking for the information. It's like, and then I would grab 5 files at a time and do the whole stupid file. Because by then there was only like 8 things left to do. If that. Usually it was more like 2 or 3. Get to know your customer information or whatever, the entity information. And I would just drill down on these 5 for a day or 2 days or a week, however long it would take. And then that started making them happy, because then I could say, yeah, we just knocked off 10 files this week, got them all into conformity. Right now, I'm not going to have any cases done until all the cases are done. And that's how it would have been with these. I wouldn't have had any files done until the last day when all the files got done. But this way, they needed metrics. They wanted to show metrics. Measure your progress. I'm like, oh, I can do that. That was my first major project at a major corporation. And I didn't realize how major corporations did their dumb projects. They needed measurable metrics so they could show progress each week and tell their bosses. Because their bosses didn't know what was going on. And their bosses need to tell their bosses need to tell their bosses that progress was being made on this project. And I kept telling them, yeah, we're making progress. And they'd say, how many files have you finished? Oh, I haven't finished any files because I've done this. They're like, no. We need finished. We need you to start finishing files. You need to finish 10 files a week. I can do 10 files a week. That's easy. I can do more if you want. I learned my lesson real quick not to do more. Joey's in the house. Cheers, Joey. Behind the scenes, keeps doors wide open. And Easy Street is in the house. What's up, Jen? Well, y'all are just in time for the exciting part, because I am about to finish these bottles by putting the front label on them, and then we'll put them in the boxes. Get off my foot. Boomtown Bourbon, flagship bourbon of your little craft distillery, the Old Humble Distilling Company. Boomtown Bourbon. Ba-boom. Tastes as good as it looks as good as it tastes. You look better drinking it, and everybody around you looks better after about 3 shots. That's a fact, scientifically proven. 9 out of 10 dentists agree. The other dentist uses that weird toothpaste that has the 3 parts to it. The red, the white, and the green, I think is what it is. I don't know what that stuff was called. I used to think it was cool. I always wanted my mom to get that, but she's like, that's more expensive than Crest. You're having Crest. I'm like, okay. It was also pretty cool when I was an adult that I could get that Cookie Crisp cereal. Because I was told when I was a kid, you can't have that. That's just cookies. And now as an adult, I can eat cookies for breakfast. Hell, I can eat actual Oreos and milk if I wanted to. Because I'm a grown-ass man. I can do whatever I want to do. Hell, the other day, I had pork chop and eggs for breakfast. For breakfast! Eggs and pork chop. Yum. That was good. That was really good stuff. Normally, you should know, normally these go on using a machine, but the backing on these labels is so thin that it doesn't go through the machine easily. So it's actually easier. It's actually easier to do it by hand than to put it through the machine, because if it goes through the machine, I have to constantly reset the machine, recenter the labels, unbind it because it gets bound up in there because it's so thin and flimsy. I'm pulling it out. I'm pulling them off by hand. It's so much harder. That's what she said. Doing it by hand. That's what she said. Or so much harder doing it with the machine. That's what she said. That it's just easier to do it by hand. That's what she said. So that's what I'm doing here. Doing it by hand. And plus, it's only 60 bottles. It's not like I'm doing 1,000 bottles. If I was doing 1,000 bottles, if I was going through that whole pallet, I might go ahead and do it by with the machine. But we're not too far away, actually, from needing to do a full pallet, 90 cases at a time. We're not too far away, because then it'll just be easier to do like 1 day's worth of production or a month's worth of production all in 1 day. I mean, 90 cases being 4 different labels. 20, 25 cases per label. And just doing all that, knocking it all out in 1 day. Who's on the house? Who's in the house? I'd love to see you video. Let's see you do a video of things I've learned as a distiller. Oh, shit. The things I've learned just running a business. The things you learn running a business are just things you never think about. Like the timing of cash flows, for example. You can look at on paper and say, we need to do this, 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 and this. You sell $15,000 worth of products, you get $15,000. You buy $15,000 worth of supplies. or $10,000 worth of supplies. You turn that into $30,000 worth of product. You sell the $30,000 worth of product. You have $30,000 worth of monies. That's not how it works. You sell, let's say you deliver 45 cases. Okay? Average of $200 per case. That should be about $9,000, right? You deliver $9,000 worth of product, you should have $9,000 worth of money, right? No, you don't. You don't have $9,000 worth of monies. You have $9,000 worth of money on the way. So in 30 or 60 days, you'll have $9,000 worth of money, which means you also have to pay rent in the intervening 30 days. You have to pay rent. So you don't have $9,000 worth of money. You have $6,000 worth of money, assuming your rent's $3,000. You also have to pay for the utilities and all that stuff. So you don't have $9,000. You have $5,000. And you have to have had that $5,000 before that $9,000 shows up, because rent is due on the 1st and the money shows up on, let's say, the 10th or whenever. So timing of cash flows is so freaking hard, because then you have to, buy the supplies of product. And the supplies of product doesn't show up for another 2 or 3 weeks. So then you still have to pay more rent. So you have to pay another rent. So you don't have $9,000 worth of product worth of monies. You have $3,000 worth of monies, because you got to pay rent twice, remember? And then then you got to turn that $3,000 worth of monies into another $10,000 worth of product. The never-ending challenge. And ideally, that $3,000 worth of money will buy 2 months worth of supplies, so that you can then turn that into $9,000 worth of monies twice over the course of the next 2 months. Oh yeah, you also have to have enough to pay yourself food. And you find out real fast that $9,000 may not be enough monies. Maybe you need something closer to $12,000. But you have to have already had that $12,000 so that you can pay rent, so that you can buy supplies, so that you can do all those things before the $12,000 of monies shows up. And then you need to take some of that $12,000 worth of monies and then turn it back around into another $12,000 worth of supplies, which again, hopefully, will be 2 or 3 months worth of supplies. Because matching up your supply to your demand, if you ramp up your demand real fast, then all of a sudden you get a bunch of orders, and you're waiting on the monies to show up so that you can match it to the orders. The orders will come in today, but the money doesn't show up until 20 days from now. Now what are you going to do? Well, now you're sitting on a bunch of back order slips. And some of those are going to go away. So now the 20 days of waiting on your money has now cost you, say, $5,000 worth of demand. So now you end up in this cycle of getting fucked. And you kind of got to raise your prices, but you can't really raise your prices because that's going to affect the demand cycle. And you get into this underfunding loop, and this underfunding feedback loop can be a death spiral for a good young company. And you always got to be careful about underfunding, because underfunding is dangerous. You can starve a very good idea to death by being underfunded. That's why a lot of these startup companies end up selling for a stupid, dumb amount of money. They go out and they get a really good idea, and they get venture capital to scale it up, and then the venture capitalists say, no. We weren't doing this to invest. We were doing this to make money. So you turn around and turn our $1 million into $10 million tomorrow, baby. And that's why That's why little companies turn around, inflate themselves real fast, and sell to big companies. It's a story as old as time itself. And that's just one of the things that I learned. I mean, shit, 5 weeks after buying out my partners and moving the distillery down to Humble, I was looking at my inventory and looking at my production and realizing that my sales were going faster than my production, and I was going to run out of product faster than I was going to be able to replenish the product. Which was going to be a problem. But in order to pay rent, I needed to sell the product. I didn't need to make the product. It wouldn't do me any good to have a bunch of product sitting on the floor. I needed to actually sell it. So that is when I discovered very quickly that my job as a distiller was not to make whiskey. My job as a distiller was to sell whiskey. And that changed the focus of what we did and how I did what I did at the distillery significantly. That's when I got less concerned about the optics of bringing in product from across town. Trash. I got less concerned about a bunch of things and more concerned about just selling whiskey. I mean, that after all is the ultimate mission, right? Sell whiskey. By the way, we're at 4,198 subscribers. I would like to give a shout out to all the new subscribers who have shown up over time. Where's my damn cursor at? Here it is. I'm yelling. I need to lower my volume a little bit. Shout out to all the new subscribers. We are 2 subscribers away from 4,200. 3, 4, 5 boxes right here. And the growth that the channel has seen over the last 9 months, 8 months, has been phenomenal. I love you guys. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for joining the channel. Thank you for being awesome people and supporting my little company. I've also learned what scams look like, how they work in real time. You learn about it at the bank as a banker, what to look for when customers and clients are being scammed, how to spot phishing emails and stuff like that. It's harder to spot that stuff when you're a business owner, when you're a small operation, because you get so many weird requests for stuff, phone calls. You almost always want to answer the phone because you're never certain if it's a person calling about your open hours or tours or where they can find your whiskey or whatever. You're never quite sure if it's a potential customer or a dickhead scammer. But I can, when you're working at the bank, they always tell you scammers will they won't necessarily have basic information. They won't be doing things in a traditional manner. And by that, I mean they're going to ask you to do something that is a deviation from your standard practice and procedures, which should always be a red flag. They're like, no, we don't like going in my case, in the case of a distiller, they'll say something along the lines of, no, we don't want to go through your distributor. We prefer to go directly through you. Okay, that's a red flag. It's a giant red flag because normally 2, 3, 4, 5. Normally we go through our distributor, right? Huge orders are sometimes red flags, because they're out of the ordinary. Somebody coming in, sight unseen. Yeah, we want to order like 1 million cases. Sight unseen. Nope, that's a red flag. Not going to send you 1 million cases, sight unseen. We're going to come in, we're going to do our due diligence. You're going to have samples. We're going to do all the stuff. If they're going to buy it directly, they need to have their licensing from the state. Show me the licensing from the state. Oh, we can do that. The biggest red flag, always, the biggest red flag is when somebody asks you to send them money for the order. And by that I mean you're not necessarily paying for the oil. If you're paying for the order, like Cutco knives, you give Cutco money, they give you the knives, right? You've got to buy your supplies. Cutco's a real company, but that's one of the ways that they make their money is by selling supplies to you, the salesman. If you're a company that makes your salesman buy supplies from you, you're a bad company. I mean, every single one of my tasters, I buy their whiskey for them. I either give them the whiskey directly or I buy the whiskey for them at the store where they're doing the tasting because I'm a real company. That's how it's done. You don't ask your tasters to buy their own product. You don't tell your salesman to buy the product from you. That's crazy town. And if they do, then you reimburse them. That's crazy. With companies like we'll send you money when we confirm the order, and then before they confirm the order, they ask you to send them money to register their products. That is a scam. And then they tell you the time is of the essence. You have to do it now. If we don't do it now, the window's going to close. If the window closes, we're going to lose this business. I go, okay, well, then we lose the business, man. It's just tough. Too bad. Misspellings on contracts. Red flag. Big red flag. At least it should be. The contract is rife with misspellings. I could do an anatomy of a scam, a whole fucking anatomy of a scam video, and I'll name names. People's Republic Sourcing Company. Max Agostino. He's either Maximus or Maximus or depending on where you find his name, it's either Maximus or Maximilian, depending on where you find his name. Either way, he's a scammer. By whatever name he goes by. And these guys, they seemed legit, They arrive, they look over the place, they ask if I can make this much product. They're going to China with the product, so they need a lot of it. And I need to be comfortable with making a lot of product. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that, no problem. But I need to be paid at least 50% up front. Like, oh, you'll be paid 100% up front. I'm like, oh, that's neat, okay. So y'all are gonna invest in my production process. They go, yeah, we'll invest in your production process so that you can increase your production and we can get the product we need. I mean, we're going to be pumping this stuff out to 79 million people in these 3 cities. So we'll receive it. And then we're going to crack it out of the containers and mix the containers that we then send to these cities in our import offices. Shanghai, Changsha, Qingzhou, and Beijing, all three of those cities. Like, that sounds great. So far, so good. Look up the company. Stellar reviews, stellar feedback, no problem on the BBB. Like, all right. What I didn't ask for is a reference. I should have asked for, have you done this with any other companies? Can I call them up? If you do that, they say no, then it's a scam. How do you know it's a scam? Well, they want to separate you from any information that they don't give you. If they're not providing you the information, then they don't want you to have that information, because they want you to be locked in on the information that they're giving you, because they're giving you good information, the best information that they can give you, information that supports their enterprise, their scam. So they want to separate you from other information sources, make you feel that it's urgent, it has to be done now. We're moving very fast because we don't have time to screw around. You sign the contract, we'll send it up to management. Management will approve it, and then we'll be ready to get moving, okay? Okay. So please don't delay. We just sent you a message. Here's a text message. We just sent you an email. Check your emails because we want to get this done as quickly as possible. Oh, okay, we can do that, no problem. Read it over, send it to the lawyers. The lawyers look at it. The language looks normal. Okay, cool. Send it back to them. Expect a review over the course of several days. And then a response comes in 48 hours. That's a red flag. You should be concerned about that. You should sit on that for a couple more days. Have your lawyers take a look at it. Maybe even check the company's registration here in Texas. Make sure that it's a real company and it's registered. Maybe it's registered overseas. All right, well, that's potentially a red flag. Not necessarily a red flag, because companies are registered overseas and they have a DBA here in Texas, and that's fine. That's not unusual. It's not necessarily a red flag, but if it's an anonymous DBA, if you can't track down the board of directors, that better be a red flag. Be skeptical. Be very skeptical. Read over the contract. Make sure you've read every word of the contract. Ask a second opinion on the contract. Make sure the lawyers read the contract, because you don't want the contract to state that you will send funds or be subject to a penalty. You read it 3 or 4 times, and the contract says clearly, funds will be paid 100% in advance upon confirmation of the contract and the dollar and the amounts. All right, funds will be paid 100%, so I can get to work. I can do that. Let's do it. And then the little scammy shits spring their little scammy trap. And it's a really bad scam too, because there's no enforceable part of anything they've sent. It's a really bad scam. It's stunning that anybody falls for this, but apparently people do, because they run the scam and make money off of it. Otherwise, they wouldn't run the scam, right? That's when they say, we need product registration. Send us this much monies so that we can register your products and import them to China. That's when you say, no. You're confirming the product by depositing 100% of the funds in my bank account, you're confirming the contract. If you're not confirming the contract, I'm not sending you any money, because obviously they're not going to send me anything after I send them $3,000, $4,000, $6,000, whatever dollars. They're not going to send me a goddamn thing. They're just going to get $4,000 and dip into the ether, because that's the scam. They run a scam for $4,000 on unsuspecting small companies that desperately could use a big contract for, like, you know, $1 million or a couple of $1 million or however much their stupid little scam is running for. And then all you got to do is send them $4,000. $4,000 for a big $1 million payday. Well, it begs the question, if you're a legitimate company about to wire over to me $1,500,000, $1,550,000 or whatever, why can't you just withhold $4,000, or sit tight and I'll wire you the $4,000 back? I'll wire over $4,000, move that money into my operating fund, the other money into the operating fund, then I'll get started on your contract. The reason is because it's a scam. They're asking you to do something different than what you normally would do. And if they're asking you to do something different than what you would normally do, they're asking you to break procedure, break protocol, to get around security protocols and procedural safeguards. That's why they're doing it. That's why scammers get away with it, because they're asking you to create an alternative function. And that alternative function doesn't have the safety guardrails that normal functions have. And then you lose money. But the scammers get away with it because you did something dumb. And that's how it's done. So, if you want to be a scammer, that's how you do it. I mean, that's what we did when we brought software back to Best Buy. We would ask them to change their protocols, because they would always say, "Oh, we don't take back software. We don't accept software returns," because people would take the software, download the game on their computer, or copy the game, and then bring it back to Best Buy. Which is why Best Buy wouldn't accept software returns. So people would get heat guns and plastic shrink wrap, and they would shrink wrap the software after they opened it and bring back the software and ask you to change your procedure, change your protocols. And that is how they would scam the store with their software returns. And they thought they were being clever, but they weren't. All right, so we got our first 5 cases done. It is 1 o'clock. That one? Yeah, that's a good one. So I'm going to wrap this up for now. I may be back on later when it cools off this evening. We're getting into the hottest time of day. I'm just going to eat here on camera. Oh, my computer's so hot. What day is it? Wednesday? Thursday. I may be back on later. Our happy hours are going to return. I had that procrastination stream that I legitimately wanted to do. 5 tools of or life hacks for how to get over procrastination, or whatever that show was. I legitimately wanted to do it back in June. But then I couldn't do it that weekend. I pushed it back to the next week, and I couldn't do it that week, and I had to push it back to the next week. And then I just thought it would be funny if I never did it, and I left that out there forever. And like 2 years later, the Old Humble Happy Hour, 5 amazing hacks on how to overcome procrastination was just out there forever. And it's like every time I came up on someone's For You page, it said upcoming and scheduled 42 weeks ago. But then I did a live game stream, and somehow that got attached to the live game. And it's just 10 minutes of me of darkness, me trying to figure out how to do it, and then the Fortnite game screen comes on, which I guess is kind of appropriate because, you know, hacks to overcome procrastination, and it's just live streaming Fortnite, which is the literal definition of procrastination. But I legitimately want to bring back the happy hours. I think I'm going to bring them back on Tuesday nights. And we might do them from in the tasting room. I think I might do some skits in the tasting room. Some longer form content, but not long form like this. Not shorts. The ones that fall in the middle, you know, the 5 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute videos. That kind of seems like the sweet spot for YouTube. The 5 minute videos, 8 minutes. After 8 minutes, it feels long. 12 to 14 minutes, just it's like you're filling in time. I know I'll scroll through the page, the front page on YouTube, and be like, nah, I don't want to sit around. I don't want to watch a 10-minute video, 15-minute video. I don't want to sit around that long, unless it's something building, like a Minecraft building video or a time lapse of building one of those off-grid cabins, or, you know, whatever. That I'll watch, like 10, 15 minutes of that. But I certainly don't want to watch 2.5 hours of that shit. Not that. All right, Jen's out the door. I'm out the door too. We're going to wrap this up. Enough chit-chat. Thank you to all our subscribers, especially all the new subscribers. Thank you to all the live chat, all the visitors and listeners and chatters in the chat, live chat. I absolutely 100% appreciate the support. And I may be back on later tonight. I may just work tonight. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't decided. But I'm going to do 10 more cases. If tonight, probably 10 more cases. Tomorrow is Friday. Maybe I'll have a bottling party tomorrow. Maybe I'll do the bottling party Saturday. I haven't decided yet. But today and tomorrow, one way or another, we're going to get 10 more cases done. And then as much of that straight whiskey as I can, we're going to just box it up and get it rocking and rolling. Cheers to all you guys. Thank you much for your support. And remember, life's too short for bad whiskey and too long to do nothing about it. Be awesome. Drink humble. Good night. This has been an award-winning production. Special thanks to Mr. Jiggs, our superfan member. If you would like to be a superfan as well, click on that membership button. For as low as $2 a month, I think you can be a member and have special privileges.